Hi, and welcome to the Spiritual Awakener. I'm Susan Kennard, and I'm so pleased that you've found this podcast. This is a podcast where you will get to meet, listen to, and understand everyday people like me and you who have had amazing experiences that have been a spiritual awakening, a turning point in their life, or just something that has led them to realize there was so much more than they thought they were. I talk to people who now serve the collective, you and me. So let's have fun today as I introduce my special guest, Mike Erand. Is that how I say it, Mike?
I usually say Erand, but Erand is fine too.
Oh, see, it's a whole American English thing when I get called Kennard and it's Kennard. So Erand, is that how I say it? Erand.
Yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. We've got to get the vibration right. Okay. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the Spiritual Awakener.
It's
great to
my
have
pleasure.
you.
Thank
you.
My pleasure, Susan.
So tell us about your turning point or your spiritual awakening that led you to be who you are today.
Well, I guess I had kind of had inklings. I worked many years in the trades. I was a power engineer and millwright, and I had little inklings that perhaps I wanted to pursue some kind of theological career, even as my boys grew up, taking them to church and all sorts of things. But it just seemed to me that was such a confining circumstance within any kind of religion aspect. I wanted more than that. So, and then I went through a number of changes, workplace injuries, and I ended up working as a real estate agent, actually. And I went to a seminar, and a gentleman that was up there speaking mentioned a number of different books that he enjoyed and that we should read as well. And I took him to task and got a few of those. And he was definitely coming at things with a spiritual slant too. So that was great.
Wow.
So
was that in the sense of the real estate manifesting, kind of like, was it kind of creating with the universe rather than seeing God as an entity outside of us? That's how religion can come across, can't it? You know.
Exactly. So it came across in that fashion where it was more whatever it's the higher power, but it's not the label of God, which can be a little bit conflicting sometimes because people have their own view on what God is. So when you use the word God, suddenly it's what they perceive. So sometimes it's nicer just to use a broader aspect of that.
Yeah. And what do you use? What do you say?
I like to say the universe for short. People understand that very, very easily.
Yeah.
So I usually use that, but you can call it anything you want. It's just labels, really, right?
I know. It's a perception, isn't it? So if the perception is universe, soul consciousness, expansive, whatever it is, or God, if it helps somebody to understand that they are so much more than this physical body, then that's the job done.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, innately, I think all of us, even the most diehard atheist or non-believer of any sort, has that feeling inside there's something else that created me. It's not just what's keeping my heart beating and my fingernails growing and my hair growing, like that's all happening.
Yes.
So I mean, and even those folks, in a time of dire struggle or near death, I mean, they're like, God, give me this one more chance.
I know, right? And at the moment, honestly, Mike, with with the climate, I mean, we just connected at the New Media Summit, didn't we, in America, in San Diego? And I feel like while we were in that conference, while we were in the summit, everyone was in that pure, I definitely noticed it, pure consciousness of love, which is kind of how we are anyway, when we work that way.
Definitely.
But outside of that, there's a huge amount of worry and fear and confusion, and people are ill, and I would imagine people are reaching out to our higher power for support and for save me type feeling.
So people have that inside them anyway. I think we know that innately, that there's something else, not just our physical bodies, that then we decompose and die and never to come again, sort of thing. But that might be for a different discussion. But as I continued reading some of those.
But people listening to this will have been drawn to this, Mike, because, you know, the spiritual awakener is really, oh, I want to hear about people awakening spiritually, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Okay. And as I continued to read some of those books from that gentleman had mentioned to me, I started to open up more, and it grew and grew, and I found myself going from a stage in my life. I was probably 46ish at the time, but I found myself going from a phase of ambition to meaning. So I was, you know, as we generally are earlier in our lives, you know, we've got to get got to get educated, got to get to school, got to get the job, got to get the wife, got to get the car, got to have the kids, got to have the house, you know. And that's the ambition phase, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think most of us at some point realize that, you know, there's less days in front of the horse than behind the cart, and what have I actually done in my life that has meaning to me, you know, and what would I like to leave as a legacy, you know, those sorts of things. So I started having thoughts like that. I was no longer really the person I was before. I had sometimes I was a little quicker to anger, or you know, just act out a little bit differently. So I wasn't like that anymore, and my wife at the time noticed that, of course. And,
what do you think, for people listening that may have this feeling that, you know, they might be quite successful, but they might still have this kind of anger, sort of like a volcano? The guides are sort of showing me like a visual here, like a volcano inside of them. What would you say? So what was it that actually helped you? What do you think it was that helped you stop feeling that way?
Well, I did some what some people call shadow work, and I pretended my brain was the master commander of my entire body and my spirit. And I called the master commander spoke to anger. So we have different facets in our body, and one of them is anger. And it's worked surprisingly well. So it just kept, anger wouldn't respond for a while, right? Because it's anger. So eventually, don't talk to
me. Right.
But you know, and this is all happening, you know, and I'm a third person observer watching this, right? And then anger started to respond. Well, what do you want, Master Commander? Like, leave me alone. I'm busy, you know. And then finally, we got him to release the anger. Why are you so mad? Like, why are you so ticked off at people and all these little things? And after that, whenever I started to get angry, I was able to really move out of my body and stand next to myself, look back at myself, and say, okay, relax. Why are you getting so angry? What happened? Well, this person just cut me off in their car. Yes, and you're still driving your car. You're still fine. You've got your seatbelt on. Everything's perfect.
Still alive.
You on your way. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you're right. So I was almost able to, you know, analyze myself in that aspect to help control that. So after a while, that just,
of course, that comes, doesn't it, from, you know, I do a lot of inner child work with people, and it comes from, you know, today's never about today, is it, Mike? You know, what we feel in today is never about today, even though there's only now playing out in our world. It's like the parts of us that have experienced something, whether it's this life, previous lives, whatever it might be, that's what's showing up, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, human beings are unique in the world, animal world, and that we're the ones that can feel the feelings and have the thoughts that bring back feelings from, you know, how many years past. And when you feel them, it's just like it happened.
Absolutely, that's the trigger, and that's what people experience, don't they, at the moment with this corona aspect going on. You know, this event that's happening in the world is bringing up everyone's fear, and probably some of that fear is from, you know, other people's fear, not even their fear, and it's just held with them as a perception.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, fear is huge. Fear is just the opposite spectrum of love. You know,
Absolutely.
they're
Yeah.
on the same rope
Mm.
almost. You know, they're
Yeah.
opposite ends though. So
Mm.
fear is love because people are fearing something that they're going to lose or whatever's going to happen to them.
Yes.
So, but they love themselves so much that they don't want to lose that or whatever. So that
Yes.
brings up.
Oh, I love that actually. That's a really good take on it.
Mhm.
Because actually, when people are in fear, maybe this is really good because what people can do is they can say, oh my goodness, why am I afraid? Well, because I love my child so much, or my dog, or I love my mother so much, or I love myself so much. Oh my goodness, I don't want to die. Okay, I love myself so much. That completely,
Yes.
I love that because that completely, just in that moment, transforms someone's fear because
Hmm.
they're focusing on the love vibration. I really love that. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it
Mm.
goes deeper than that. If you allow me just
Mm.
to go a little further,
Yeah.
it's even people that we, as a society, um, don't condone what they do. For example, terrorists or just people that treat people
Mm.
badly. Perhaps even the person that uh, uh, mistreats their wife or children,
Mm.
or
Mm.
it
Mm.
goes on and on to people, murderers, all that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Mm.
They're actually acting out of love because it's fear. So what makes them um, feel so badly or love something? What makes them love something so much? They have to act out
Mm.
in that fear that they
Yeah.
won't get that love, right? So it's
Yeah.
really love based, and it's
Mm.
obviously I don't condone any of those actions
No,
or anything like that. And that
just for the
means that
purpose of the podcast, right? You're not
no,
you're not condoning that because you're coming from a place of love to help people to understand that really love and fear is one and the same.
and that's it.
Mm.
It's not forgiveness anymore. We don't have to
Mm.
forgive people. We have to understand them,
Mm.
understand why they're doing, where they were coming from, and then obviously we don't condone it. We don't want
Mm.
other people to do that, but we
Yeah.
have, those people are actually the people that need the most help.
Yes.
It's tough to give it to them. I'm certainly
Mm.
no psychologist or expert in order to do that. But if we can understand that that's where they're coming from, then
Mm.
it helps us not just outright hate them and want to
Mm.
destroy them and kill them, because they killed somebody else, perhaps.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
just another outlook to.
Yes, absolutely. And I am a psychologist, but
Yeah.
I still think, and a trauma specialist, but I still think that people struggle with, especially paedophiles. And, when I work with people, they're like, well, how can anyone possibly do that? But of course, we've got to look at the bigger picture of karmically as well, what's going on. We've got to
Yeah,
look at our past lives, if people believe in that, but we've got to look at what we've brought in with us to heal in this lifetime. So
definitely.
it's a really, beautiful relationship with who we are, isn't it?
Mhm.
Coming from a
Oh,
place of love. Yeah.
and that's, yeah, it
Mm.
seems complex, but it's simple too.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all it is, really, all
Yeah.
about love, because love is all there is,
Yeah.
and that's who
Yeah.
we are and what we are, and what awaits us and where we came from.
Yeah, and we chose to experience this physical, this physical jacket, didn't we?
Yeah,
To
yeah,
experience emotion, attraction, to be able to create, to be able to have fun in this world,
hmm,
which you and I have fun with. We have great fun, and I want everyone to have the same. I want everyone to feel that we can create, we can manifest, we can have fun, we can serve by being in that space of knowing that we're all the same, that we're all
absolutely,
connected. Yeah.
absolutely,
So
yeah.
carry on. Yeah.
Excuse me. So, getting back to my transition point.
Mm.
So, my wife didn't enjoy who I was becoming. Because, well, you're not the old person I knew, because we had been high school sweethearts, so
Oh
she knew
wow.
me for
Yeah.
a very long time.
Mm.
At that point we were married just about 26 years, so she knew me pretty well, and now she didn't recognize this guy.
Mm.
So I think that made her fearful,
Yeah.
right? Too.
Of
uh,
losing you.
that's right. That's, what am I losing?
Mm.
I
Mm.
just, she didn't want me to be in real estate at all. She just, just stay at a job, get a good pension so we can retire. And I'm saying boring, I don't want to do that. That's
Yeah.
that's not within me. I want to do
Mm.
more.
Yeah.
And, we tried to work that out. And, I said, it's going to be a heck of a ride. Why don't you come with me? And all those sorts of things. In the end, it just, I knew that where I wanted to go, the person I wanted to become, I couldn't do that with her anymore.
Yeah.
So, it was nobody's fault, or anything like that.
Just grew differently.
Yeah. So we ended up separating. And at the same time, I went through the death of my father, who died of lung cancer. It was a long, drawn-out, painful thing to watch.
Yeah.
Shortly thereafter, my mother got lung cancer. And
wow.
Yeah. It wasn't a nice time. And then she had lots of treatments, chemo and radiation and stuff like that. And she recovered, but then it came back. And I thought, God, I hope she doesn't have to go through what my father went through.
Yes.
The pain and suffering. And then it wasn't long after, a few weeks after that she developed a lung infection. And they couldn't stop it. And basically, we had to, she was on a ventilator. And I have one sibling, a sister, and the doctor said, well, I think we should unplug that, because there's nothing we can do for her anymore.
Yeah.
Her lungs are full, and it's the only reason she's staying alive is the
ventilator.
So I looked at my sister, and she said, I can't make that decision. So I just looked at the doctor and nodded. And
wow, Mike, that's a really tough thing. And there may be some people listening to this that, especially because of a lot of people being sick at the moment, maybe having to go through that, or soon to go through that. So I think it was thank
really
you for
tough.
sharing that.
Yeah, it was really tough. No, and the doctor said she'd probably pass away within a minute or so. Well, it took 8 minutes, but she was still breathing on her own. And we sung to her while she was passing away in front of her eyes, basically.
Wow.
And I struggled with that for months and years afterwards. That did I just kill my mother? That's something that I made the decision. Obviously, she wasn't going to get better. So that needed to be made. However, so you still have that little feeling in the pit of your stomach, like, wow, I did that, right? Which wasn't fun either. And then, I, because of my separation and subsequent divorce, monetarily, things didn't go well for me. And so I was stuck on very, very little money. And then, I was making over six figures easily every year in real estate. Now I was working, couldn't get a job. There was hardly any jobs around. And I had been out of the trade for 6 years or so. And a lot of folks that want to hire you. Oh, you haven't been working in 6 years? It's amazing. And then now I was 48, I think. And already people were...
you look so young, Mike. You look so young. For the purpose of the audio and people listening, on their podcast, he looks so young. Go to my YouTube channel and watch this video.
Next month, actually.
Yeah, wow.
But so when I was 48, I already found that people were looking at my resume saying, "Yeah, you're too old," which surprised me, because I didn't feel like I was.
No. Yeah.
But anyway, then my dog that had been with me, as I went to sleep in people's couches and basements and stuff like that, whoever would take me in, had been with me the whole time, became ill. And
oh my gosh.
I didn't have the wherewithal to continue lots of treatments with her. So they wanted to do exploratory surgery. And she was an 11-year-old Rottweiler, and lovely dog. And I couldn't afford to do that. So ended up putting her down, and I took her to my friend's cottage and buried her there, where we used to hang out quite a bit. And I couldn't believe, that my best friend that was just alive an hour ago, I was shoveling dirt on her. It's just such a, and I really went down deep into some depression after that. And I started to wonder, like, who am I? Like, who is this Mike Erand guy, and why is he here? Maybe the world would be better without me, sort of thing. I never made any plans for my own demise, but I certainly had thoughts of maybe maybe it'd be better if I just wasn't around anymore, you know.
And I think that a lot of people listening to this, you know, may have felt like that at some point in their life, and or maybe feeling that at some point in their life. So move on to say really who you are now and how you've reinvented yourself, and how you help people transform their lives, because that is cool.
I just want to conclude the other, if that's okay, because
Yeah.
there's just one other point. As I think maybe I mentioned to you once before, but I was after that, and I started a meditation practice and reading more books, and I really came out again and felt really uplifted. Yeah. And I was walking one morning. I was working somewhere, so every morning I took an early morning walk, and I was walking down the road, and I thought I saw a lump of clothes on the side of the road, but it was actually a person as I walked up to them. And their shirt was untucked, pants were undone, no shoes, no socks, like total mess. And this is the weather that you probably wanted to have a jacket on, you know, it was a little cooler. So I shook the gentleman, and it was a young fella, and he finally woke up, and he was obviously been into whatever he was partying or who he was partying with the night before. He was still recovering from that. And so I tried to, you know, like, what's your name and where do you live? And found out his name is Travis, and he lived on the opposite side of town. And he had been partying, obviously. And I asked him, have you got a cell phone, Travis? And he said, no. I said, well, I brought mine with me that morning because normally I didn't. I don't like to take that with me, you know, and I had it with me. And said, okay, I'm going to call you a cab. So I called a cab, and I said, well, how long? I got his address, and I said, how much to get to that place? And they said $20. And I said, okay. So I asked Travis, you got any money, Travis? No. And then I checked my wallet, and I had $20 bill in it, which I hardly ever carried. Normally around here, we usually use a lot of debit, and I didn't carry much cash. Anyway, not that I had a lot of cash at that point, but still, so I happened to have the correct change, right? So I reached down and gave him the $20, and he just looked up at me like, you know, the great sea had parted, you know, like, wow, I can't believe you're being so kind to me. And you know, the cab came, we got him in the cab, and they pulled away, and I walked away from that, and then I just like the dam opened, I just started flooding with tears. Like, it wasn't crying like, you know, normally when you cry, it's a bit waves, comes in waves. Like, I walked for blocks, and it was just pouring out, and I couldn't believe. Real
source within you,
that I had shown so much unconditional love for this person that I never met before, that probably previously in my life I would have walked right by. So that was a huge turning point for me, and I still remember that day. It was May 24th, and I keep it on my calendar as Travis Day. Later on, I thought about, well, that was almost like me looking in a mirror and me laying on the side of the road, totally disheveled, needing help, out of luck, and that's where I would be or become if I didn't do something with my life. If I didn't move forward, you know. So it was a real turning point for me, and I decided then that what I had to do was help others become, you know, their greatest versions as much as I could possibly do. So that was a huge turning point there. So then we can segue more into what.
I mean, and also they say our teacher appears when we're ready. Absolutely. And in a way, that Travis was your teacher, right? From God. Yeah.
And I found out a few days later from my neighbor that somebody had knocked on their door, because I lived in a basement apartment on the next house, and they had knocked on their door, and it was him. They said this guy was just wandering around like he could hardly walk. And that's how close he got to me. So I think we were really a vibrational match.
And that's a great point.
But he couldn't find me. But I found him in the morning, you know. So it's that was quite meaningful.
That is so meaningful. And for, you know, anyone listening, like, you know, it doesn't mean you have to go and give money to people on the street if you don't feel it. But if something happens within you and you feel so called and so drawn, then just follow it, because there'll be something else calling you. And the fact that you had the $20 in your wallet, you had your phone with you, which you never carry. You must be one of the weirdest people not to carry your phone everywhere, right, Mike? But nowadays.
That was part of my quiet time. I didn't want to be interrupted.
I'm joking. But yeah, so, you know, but to have money, I mean, very rarely do I carry cash on me, right? It's always my debit card. And much to my children's upset when they want to pop to the local shop and get sweets or whatever it is, you know, I was like, oh, you got some cash? No. But yeah, so moving on. So I know you as the soul mechanic. So can you sort of tell people about what that means, how you help them, and how they can reach you?
Sure. So yeah, I developed kind of a persona called soul mechanic, mainly because I was in the industrial mechanic world earlier. And then also I feel I can help people come from a perspective of healing their soul, which is so important. So I can also be a mechanic on the souls as well. Right? So there's kind of a double meaning there. And I started a company called Infinite Success Academy. And people can go to infinitesuccessacademy.com if they'd like. I have different programs there. One of them is Infinite Possibilities, which is my life coaching program. So that helps you discover who you really are, why you're here, what happens when you die, where we go when we die, you know, how we can celebrate death now while we're alive, and actually, you know, because if we understand that, we can understand our purpose for life. If we're afraid of that, then that's that fear thing again, right? So then we can't live fully because we're afraid of dying. So there's many aspects of that course. It's actually well, you could probably do it in an 8-hour day if you were at a conference or something like that. But I usually teach that over 8 weeks, so like an hour sort of thing.
I like 8 because 8's infinity. That's how I run my courses. 8 weeks. Right. Yeah, infinity. Yeah.
And because I was in the sales world for a while there, I developed systems to move forward very quickly, because within 2 years I was within the top 6% of all realtors in Canada. So I did very well in a short period of time, mainly due to the systems I had developed. And so I do have another course called Natural Achievement Coaching, which is mainly sales oriented for realtors, car salespeople, financial advisors, that kind of thing, that is a little bit more in direct sales, because that's the logical side of my mind, right?
The left bit and the right bit.
Left over from the engineering side, that you know, I still enjoy some of that.
But it's good to serve, you know, the collective, right? And whatever gets drawn to you. So this is really good. So basically, if you're really wanting to kind of find who you are, you have courses and programs, and yourself, of course, to help that. But also, if you just really want to tweak your business or learn more about sales, or be more financially kind of attracting to abundance, even if you don't want to look at what your true soul's mission is, that'll come later anyway. You can go on and do that as a first step, can't you?
Well, yes.
So it's like
courses actually complement each other, because it's also spiritually based, as in, you know, developing your future vision. What do you want to go for, you know, and goals, you know, people always set goals, which is fine, because on the short term, but what's your future vision for 5 years, 10 years? And it should be grandiose. It should be so darn big that you get up in the morning excited about it.
Which we do.
Right?
Yes.
So it should be big, almost unattainable, right? And then you move backwards, and you set, you know, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly goals in order to attain that. So that's you know, how you move forward with it.
Yeah, and that's definitely really important. I think, you know, people think, well, how can I possibly? And you think, well, what if you could possibly? Right? How would it feel if you could possibly? Right. And that, that's really important for people, because especially in this climate at the moment, people are quite narrowly energetically focused.
Yes.
And so we need to expand that focus, don't we? We need to expand that focus, because actually our soul has that focus already. It's already
Absolutely.
there.
Yeah.
We just forgot sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, definitely. And that's the whole thing, moving from ambition to meaning. It's also about meaning what your soul wants, your soul's desire.
Exactly.
The soul has a desire to do and be everything it can while here in the physical realm of the physical. But we deny that a lot of times, and then we end up with a life that's not pleasing to us, because we're just trying to please other people or society, and do things a certain way because we were exposed to certain beliefs and perceptions. And if we could just want to tweak them a little, we could do a little bit more for ourselves. It doesn't have to be a wholehearted change, like for me with separation and divorce. That doesn't have to happen.
No.
You can do small things, but at that point in time, it just wasn't working between her soul and my soul. Right.
And you were just, the thing is, I believe reason, season, lifetime, right? And what is a lifetime anyway? But a reason, always a reason why you have someone in your life, always, 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 because you will be that vibrational match. And then season will depend on if you vibrationally match all the way through.
That's right.
And if you vibrationally don't, it's because that person needed to be with somebody else of a vibrational match, which was different.
Yes.
And so that's something for people to think about, isn't it? That, they might be in a relationship or job or a situation. Is it really feeding your soul? Is it a vibrational match? Not only for you, but for those others that are involved. So actually, by taking that step forward, you're actually saying, I'm giving that freedom to that person, that situation as well. So you're giving your freedom to you, but you're giving your freedom so that they can be the best version of themselves, right?
Well, exactly. And as we spoke about before, love is not needing someone, right? So
yes, we did. Yes.
Yeah. So it's and a lot of people have love is, well, I'll love you if you take the garbage out tonight.
Yeah.
I'll love you. We withhold our love because we have expectations of people to do things for us. And if they don't do it, we will start to withhold our love as punishment. Well, is that really true love? Like, you have to search your soul in that, right? So maybe you're in a relationship of convenience, and you know what, that works sometimes.
It depends on what you
can
want.
work together sometimes to a common goal, whatever that happens to be. But if you search your soul and what your soul's desire is, you'll find that you're probably not in the right spot. But everybody has their own way of finding that out.
And I met your really lovely partner at the conference last week, and I was like, oh, she's just got such a lovely energy, and the two of you match so well. So it was like, oh, I can just see this like energetic, spark. So that was really lovely.
Yeah, it was definitely a good match together. So that's wonderful. I was very happy.
Mike, so just once again, tell people how they can get hold of you, your website, and other details.
Yes, my main website is mikearend.com. So mikearend.com. You can even link to my other Infinite Success Academy website from there. I do have I'll just hold it up quickly.
Oh, you're the one. Move your finger. Move your finger. Yeah, you're the one. Wow. Everyone feel that. You're the one. You're the one. You're the one. You're the one.
It looks a little thick, but there's 2 books in it. It's a trilogy. I'm writing the 3rd one now. I'm about 57,000 words into the 3rd one. So it's a action adventure book, but it's with spiritual messages inside, because I felt that some of the spiritual stuff I read was, honestly, as much excited as I was about to learn things, it was still a little on the dry side.
Yeah.
So I wanted to.
You wanted excitement and drama and
that
fun.
kept people turning the pages and moving along, and then also with characters in there that go to different dimensions, but they find themselves again. So they're
woven into it, which is really beautiful. And that's your mechanic-y bit of you, your soul part of you and your mechanic-y part of you, which is the left brain and the right brain. Well, we might see it that way. And so for people, people will be drawn to your vibrational energy because of who you are. So if you're listening to this and you feel drawn to Mike's energy, which I'm sure you do, please contact him. And I'm sure he will chat to you for 15 minutes or something if you aren't sure about what might suit you. Is that okay, Mike? Yeah,
absolutely.
They can contact
Absolutely.
you, email you, and the details will be also in the show notes on this podcast of how to contact Mike. So thank you so much for being here, Mike. Thank you everybody for listening. And if you have a spiritual awakening story or a turning point that you want to share with me and my listeners, I would love to hear from you. So find me at Susan Kennard, that's KENNARD.co.uk, and you can find me on Facebook, all the social media platforms. And so just think for a moment, what was the turning point in your life? And I look forward to hearing, seeing, and experiencing your stories. Much love for now. Bye-bye.